Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another album ranking tier list video, full of opinions that don't matter at all. This time, as you can see, it's of Lamb of God, which are one of my favorite bands of all time. I'm seeing them for the third time next week with Pantera, or the Pantera Tribute Reunion Celebration thingy. They're calling it Pantera, so I'm calling it Pantera too, so whatever. So for this list, I know the first Burn the Priest album is there. I'm not going to talk about it because I'm talking about just strictly the Lamb of God albums because they're the ones that I listen to. But if you really want, I might go back and listen to the Burn the Priest album and give like make a little short on it if you really want to. But anyways, we're going to start with New American Gospel. Now, another thing you probably noticed, there's only 3 tiers. That's because Lamb of God are a really consistent band. They don't really have any like bad albums or really any mediocre albums. I would say I think they're all varying degrees of good. So B is like, it's solid. Then A is like, okay, this is really good. And then S is like, this is like go to. Like I'd put predominantly these songs in a playlist. At least songs from these albums in a playlist. So New American Gospel. It's alright. B tier. Again, it's good. Solid debut. Actually quite like it. But it's not the greatest thing ever. My favorite songs are obviously Black Label. Everybody loves that song. But some really underrated songs are A Warning, The Black Dahlia, In the Absence of the Sacred, Terror and Hubris in the House of Frank Pollard, which is probably the longest song title they ever have, as well as The Subtle Arts of Murder and Persuasion. And I guess Pariah is pretty good, and ODHGABFE, whatever that means. Actually, you know what? I probably don't want to know. So, yeah, it's solid. Just production's kind of weak. Randy's vocals are really down in the mix, and I just don't think his gutturals sound that great yet. Obviously, he sounds killer now. He sounds fucking amazing now. But back in like 2000, I think this album came out, or 2001, it really wasn't up to snuff. So moving on to As the Palaces Burn, the next one. This is a solid improvement. I think I would still put it in B tier. I'd put this also in B tier because it's good, but there's just not really a ton that just speaks to me. I like Ruin, 11th Hour, For Your Malice, A Devil in God's Country, Vigil. This album is good. It is a good album, but it is a little on the short side, and there's just not. I just don't go back to this album a ton because I think for the longest time it wasn't on Spotify, so I couldn't really listen to it. So it wasn't a part of like my main Lamb of God like album consumption. Most of the stuff that I would listen to were from like Ashes of the Wake and like the newest stuff like Resolution and Sturm und Drang. I don't know how you say it, but yeah, As the Palaces Burn, still a good album. So nobody get mad at me, please. If this is your favorite album, that's awesome. My opinions are just me. I'm just saying that so to cover my ass. Ashes of the Wake, really good album, A tier. But again, there's some kind of weaker songs on this album. Not that any of them are straight up bad, I wouldn't say that. But, like, how many of you listen to One Gun or Break You? Like seriously. Like they're not bad songs at all. I don't mean to single them out, but it's like some of these deeper cuts on this album are just kind of alright. But of course, the good songs are really good. Like obviously, Laid to Rest, Omerta, Now You've Got Something to Die For, Hourglass, Ashes of the Wake, Remorses for the Dead. All really really good. So I think it's A tier, but kind of like half the songs are really good, half the songs just all right. Now we got our first S tier, Sacrament. This was an album that I didn't really listen to a whole lot, besides Walk With Me in Hell and Redneck, because those are the 2 big songs on this album. And I guess Black and the Cursed Sun, too. That's one of my favorite Lamb of God deep cuts. But when I listened to it, when I was going through the entire discography for this video, this album is fucking awesome. I really love Again We Rise, Pathetic, Foot to the Throat. Forgotten Lost Angels is pretty good. Requiem is really great, too. It's just It's a really, really good album. So, but of course, you probably knew that already. So, I feel comfortable putting it in S tier. It's probably my favorite Lamb of God album, or at least one of my favorites. I don't know. All their albums are good, so it's whatever. Now we got Wrath next. This album is also really, really solid. I think I would put this in A tier, maybe slightly above Ashes of the Wake, but I'd probably give them around the same score if I had to score them, like a 8.5, 9 out of 10, somewhere around there, or whatever. But yeah, I really like Set to Fail, Contractor, Grace, Broken Hands, Everything to Nothing, Reclamation. But all the songs on this album are great. It's just a really solid Lamb of God album. This album is produced really well too. It sounds awesome. So I think A tier is appropriate. Now, Resolution. Out of the newer era of Lamb of God, this is probably my least favorite. It's not my least favorite album by the band, but I think my main issue with it is its length. It's like 14 songs, which is just way too much. I think you could have at least gotten rid of Barbarossa, because it's just an interlude that leads into Invictus, which is cool, but I think they either should just made that one song or just completely cut Barbarossa out. But for the most part, it's good. The worst songs are just kind of alright. Probably won't go to them too often, but it is what it is. Straight for the Sun is really good, though. I love that as a beginning track. And of course, Ghost Walking is probably the big song on this album. I was like Terminally Unique. I think that song is pretty cool. And King Me is alright as an outro. It tries to sound like big and cinematic, and I don't know. To me, that sound just doesn't really work for Lamb of God, but it at least doesn't do a whole lot for me in the context of Lamb of God, but it's still a decent song, so I think we're going to put it in B tier. I think I like As the Palaces Burn more, honestly. I think this is fair. Now we got Sturm und Drang, which was an album that I liked, but I kind of forgot about some of the deeper cuts on this album. But whenever I listened to it, I was really thoroughly impressed. Because, even though I bought this album on CD, I had no way to listen to it besides Spotify, so it's whatever. But obviously everybody knows 512 Embers, which features Chino Moreno from Deftones. But some of my other favorite songs on this album are Engage the Fear Machine, Overlord, which has some excellent clean singing by Randy. Erase This is a really good track. Footprints, Anthropoid, Torches featuring Greg from Dillinger Escape Plan. I'm not sure how you say his last name, but still a really good song. Even the two bonus tracks of the deluxe edition, Wine and Piss and Nightmare Seeker, are really good too. So, yeah, I think I'm going to put this up in S tier. And now we got the self-titled album in 2020. This might be recency bias, but this album is great. Like, this album is really good. I like all the songs on it. Memento Mori is one of the band's biggest songs now for a reason. It's awesome. Of course, Checkmate, the first single, was really, really solid. Some deeper cuts I really like. I really like Bloodshot Eyes. That also has some awesome clean singing. I like it whenever Randy Blythe does his clean singing. I think it sounds really good. Also like Roots, which features Chuck Billy from Testament. Reality Bath, which I think has some really, really good lyrics that are very, very socially aware, which Lamb of God have kind of always been, but, whatever. And of course, Resurrection Man, one of the heaviest songs they've ever done, if not the heaviest song. It is so good. And On the Hook, I kind of forgot about this song whenever the album first came out. I was just like, it's whatever. But I was just listening to it this morning. And man, like the blast beat in it is so sick. So yeah, I think we're going to put this up in, I think S tier. S tier is fine. And while we're up there, let's throw Omens up in there too, S tier. It's just so good. Again, like the self-titled, I like every single song on this album. There's, I love Nevermore, Vanishing. I'm just reading off the track list at this point. To the Grave, Ditch, Gomorrah, Grayscale, Denial Mechanism is a really good, like, kind of thrashy, like, punk song. Because I think a lot of people forget that Lamb of God kind of came from, like, punk roots and, like, hardcore. They just play metal. And September Song, again, not a song I was like too crazy about whenever the album dropped, but re-listening to it a few times, I was like, yeah, this is really, really cool. Yeah, I think Lamb of God are just killing it right now in terms of musical output, and I cannot wait to hear more of this. So, well, I guess, I guess we'll throw in, we'll throw Starmundrong in A tier just to be a little bit more fair. And yeah, so that way it's a little even. All right. So, yeah, that's my ranking of all Lamb of God's albums. If you agree or disagree, leave it down in the comments below, or don't. That's okay too. If you still watched it, that's good enough for me. And have a good one, and I'll see you whenever I make another video. So, peace.